What's up, y'all? Kofi Kingston here, and I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks, depending on what that drink is, preferably non-alcoholic, you know?
How's it going? Celtic Warrior Shaman.
Soda.
I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Maple syrup.
Fella.
I would never have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Welcome to what? We're live.
So, okay.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to Wrestling on the Rocks. That's right, everybody. This is episode 1. Oh shit! I'm wearing the wrong shirt. All right. Well, you can't get it all right every time. We're doing it. Well, I mean, we had a good run. We could have hit episode 2. I got the wrong shirt on. Guys, this is Wrestling on the Rocks, where every show is our first show. If something didn't go wrong, it wouldn't be right. Man, this isn't even like a relevant shirt.
It's all right. I have your splash page, so I can't see you.
Really? It doesn't even. You can't even see the. All right. Yeah, I'm wearing. It's the goddamn Good Brothers, dude. Like, they're not even relevant this week. They will like. This could be the worst shirt I could have possibly worn for this. All right. Well, we'll see. Maybe if producer gets home in time, she can throw me a ref shirt and I can be back in business. Hey, I'm at Ref Marsh. If you hear on the other side, that is our very own drinking buddy, Bishop.
Yes, sir.
Tell people what's up.
I am Bishop from the Terrible Wrestling Takes podcast, back again for yet another episode 1. TWTakesPodcast.com, TW Takes Podcast, at TW Takes Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So I'm so thrown off because this is completely backwards of how we usually do this shit. TWTakesPodcast.com. That's where you find all the audio platforms of my podcast: iTunes, Google Play, all that shit, Spotify, TuneIn, Overcast, all that good stuff. TWTakesPodcast.com/TWTs. And we have merch. Got 5 color t-shirts up there. Order 1, order 2, order 3, order 5, whatever. Also, TWTakesPodcast.com/international. There's a Teespring site. Our good friend, our best drinking buddy at Ref Marsh, who is hosting this show, created a WCW themed logo of TW Takes, and it looks fucking phenomenal. I put it on a premium shirt because it's a premium design by a premium person for a premium shirt, sweatshirt as well. So check that out. But other than that, I just been talking wrestling nonstop. The wife's tired of it, so after Mania, we'll see. But I'm here to join the show for episode 1 once more.
Yeah, it's unprecedented how many episode 1s you've been on. Yeah, well, that's just it. We're right in the thick of it, man. This is oh, and you guys may notice there's no producer here as of right now, which is why this whole thing's in shambles already. I just realized you can't even see the chat yet. Is there chat over here? No, I don't see chat, so we're good. We're good. Oh, our video went out. Let me fix that. Let's see if that's possible.
Yeah, dude. In our Zoom, it's your icon. That's what I'm getting on Zoom, is your icon.
Yeah, well, I mean, the camera's out. All people are getting is the border. This is going to be the time to change my shirt, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, you told me that was going to be a little bit different than normal. You were correct, my friend.
Yeah, this is definitely different than normal.
Oh, my God. The good thing is it's an episode 1.
Yeah, it's lucky. It's lucky it's only episode 1. Oh, man.
Oh, shit.
I can't get the video back on. Let me do this.
This is epic.
Oh, this is good stuff. This is good. We're doing it. It's not coming back. Well, Bishop.
Video cuts on. Marsh is half naked.
Yeah. I was just changing. I wonder if I bet I know what just happened. There we go. Back on live, baby. We did it. What's funny is what I like about it when the camera goes out, though, it's just right now it's the banner with the Wrestlemania logo because that's what we're all here talking about. Everyone's talking about Wrestlemania. Bishop.
Yes, sir.
WWE alone has provided us 9 straight days of Wrestlemania content, including tonight, but not limited to, the Hall of Fame getting 2 ceremonies in one night. 15 wrestlers, 2 Warrior Awards. You got 17 people going to the Hall of Fame tonight alone. It's pretty sick.
It's a lot of people.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
And, I mean, congratulations to them all. I see online a lot of people really take a stand on who should or should not be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I'll have my opinions, or sometimes I'll see someone announced and go, I don't think I'd have picked that. But, I mean, like, what is the joy of trying to tear someone down for accomplishing something that's that personal and positive for them, you know? Just real weird.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I've defended the reality of what wrestling is, right? And I think Kane was a huge example. Molly Holly getting in congratulated by Shane Helms was a huge example of what the reality of what this business is. Yeah. And I say this business because we cover it that way. We don't cover it like a Game of Thrones or a Walking Dead or anything like that. You know what I mean?
No,
we're covering it.
Try to talk the whole business.
Yeah, as much as we can without sounding like, you know, we know more because we pretend to work for WWE. Like at face value, perfect example. 2 years ago today is when Kofi Mania culminated, right? Xavier Woods cries for like 5 fucking minutes straight. Kane getting inducted into a Hall of Fame was crying. He's a 50-year-old mayor of a city. Why are you crying? Oh, because this is real. This means something. So regardless of who's in or who should get in, listen to Eric Bischoff on fucking After the Bell. Yeah, a guy tough as nails who's been through everything in this business. It still meant that much to him. So regardless of who you think should or should not be in, when they do get in, it means something to them. So let the people who are there have their moment. That's all.
Yeah, and Eric Bischoff was fired, 1 or 2 years ago?
Yeah. What was it, 3 days? If that, he had enough time to fly to Stanford, find a place, and then fly back home.
Yeah. It was a wild thing. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it all means something to these people. They don't. I mean, just think about your own job, shitty or not. I mean, think about it from like even like fast food, which I don't think is like a shitty job, but I do know that it's tough because I've done it, and I respect people who do. They put your face on the wall and say you're the best griller of the month. Feels fucking good, man. Feels good.
1,000%.
That people see what you're doing and recognize that. So, yeah, I wouldn't think that this is where everyone should be taking their stand. That's all I'm going to say. I think that you clap for them, you say, all right, but it's absolutely okay for you to take a bathroom when they're giving their speech. No reason to do it.
Hey, Marsh, what's in your glass?
Right now I've got coffee and Terramana. I'm having the old rock tequila with coffee and Dunkin' Donuts. I just switched my shirt. I'm wearing my ref shirt now.
I see that. Not on Zoom, but on Twitch with a 10-second delay. It's infuriating. I got Knob Creek 9-year, 100 proof. It's one of my favorites.
Fantastic. Fucking bug.
Cheers. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, cheers. Cheers to our favorite knob. Bishop. Stackhouse coming through. Stackhouse. Whoop, whoop. He says, Kane crying makes him cry. Yeah. Dude, all of the people seeing them get choked up. Watching Shane Helms cry, just telling Molly she'll be going in.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I love that stuff.
Yeah. That's the reality of what this is. It means something to them, so why not allow it to mean something to you? It's foolish not to.
They get a cool little plaque on their wall. You can even the people who you don't think. You can at least give a moment to like think about their career and watch highlights and see it and go, it is a nice little. They weren't there for nothing for not long at all. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
All of that to say, though, there's a shitload of wrestling content out there this week and most of next week. If you start with Monday Night Raw last night, you go into the Hall of Fame tonight, you go into TakeOver 2 nights, Wednesday, Thursday. You also have AEW Dynamite on Wednesday. Friday, you have SmackDown. Saturday, Sunday, 2 WrestleMania nights. Monday, Raw again. Tuesday, the first Tuesday with NXT on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, you're back to AEW. Thursday, you got Impact if you want to watch Impact. And Friday, we're back to SmackDown. Even if you only watch WWE product, you got like 1 or 2 days of chill in the middle of those. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's a lot. All that to say, if you've taken your time to come have a drink with us, we appreciate that very much because there is no shortage of content this week and next week, which is why I think today we're not going to take up as much time as we typically do. We're not going to break down every episode of every show that's come through. We're just going to talk for a little bit and let you be on your way. I wanted to have a drink with my buddy Bishop, a drink with anybody who wants to come through. Anybody who's in the chat, twitch.tv/wrestling on the rocks, you are more than welcome to ask us a question specifically about anything that's happened on either show, because otherwise we may not be bringing it up at all. We just want to talk a few things, man.
Yeah, I'm game. I'm game.
Let's talk a little bit of
news.
So
your show is the ship, my friend.
Since we talked a little bit about the schedule and TakeOver first night being Wednesday, opposed by Dynamite, in a world where we've been saying there is no war, there is no competition, no one cares what each other is doing, seems real fucking specific that today Tony Khan's like, Mike Tyson's coming back to Dynamite. Yeah. You can't miss it. It's going to be huge. Who else did he? What else? He said something else was going to be huge this week too. I forget what it was.
I don't know. I just thought everything for him happens in 9 days.
Yeah. 9 days. 9 days. 9 days. Yeah. It is. Let me see if I can find the other note that was also announced. But with that in mind, what do you think about Tyson coming back to the old AEW, man?
Yeah, my comment on Twitter, you can check it out at TB Takes Podcast on Twitter, however you do that, was because remember when they did the Evolve show on WWE Network to counter program AEW.
Yes.
I remember Cody Rhodes getting on the mic going, "You can't counter program this." Well, NXT Stand and Deliver is going to be the most incredible in-ring wrestling we have this entire week, bar none. Who's counter programming who now? You're putting on Tyson, an eyeball attraction who will not get you anything close to the quality of wrestling content you're getting on NXT. Who's counter-programming who?
You want to know their answer to it? They just announced this an hour ago. Jon Moxley and the Young Bucks teaming up against Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers.
Are you serious?
That's their main event for it, yeah.
So who's counter-programming who? And you know what I would rather see than that? Raquel Gonzalez versus Io Shirai. So if you want to go main event for main event, they can't pull one out that's going to be better than that. Not in storyline.
No. Also,
because Young Bucks and Moxley teaming together is not storyline at all.
Yeah, it's not. No, none of that makes any sense. You know what else I'd probably rather see than that? Just more footage of that little dog running around. But yeah, so they're doing their thing, and I think that was one of those moments of all like, okay, that's funny, that's cute. You guys think bringing Tyson back is big, and all right, do your thing. But I also do think that it's like I've been saying. I think that Tony Khan is not this great uniter of wrestling fandom. He is the great divider. He is making so much content as to force people to pick which universe they're going to live in. And in that regard, since he has done that, creating 3-4 hours worth of YouTube, sometimes up to 6 or 7, depending on how much he wants to throw in there. If you are catering specifically to your audience alone, and telling people they must choose sides to pick what they're going to watch, what better way to say, hey, don't worry that you're missing a far superior show. We're going to have Tyson and some of your favorites wrestle. It's actually a nice thing. You know what I mean? In that context of him just catering to his own fan base alone, it's nice that he's giving them that so they feel less bad about missing out on TakeOver because you just can't watch all of everything.
Yeah, if you want to look at it that way. I mean, that's one way to spin it. And so I guess you're right. You know, when you say the great divider, that's exactly what it's doing. And I'm not saying that they have to take a bow, right? They don't have to lay out because NXT is doing a pay-per-view. And honestly, I don't even think this is a shot at AEW at all. I just think this is the right way in what WWE is doing for their WrestleMania weekend. This is actually the best thing they could do as far as content period, match quality period, you know, without rushing storylines and matches within the show of what they're doing through storylines. They're giving us everything they can on Wednesday and everything they can on Thursday. Yeah. So it's got nothing to do with AEW. The fact that AEW is not just going to lay out, but my problem is, again, a reason why I don't watch AEW is you're not staying in sync with your storylines. So you're putting on this match for the sake of counter programming without the storyline into it.
Yeah, it's hot shot. He's hot shotting it. I mean,
yeah.
But every week it's a hot shot card. It's always like, hey, here's two big names. And Tony even came out and said it in that one interview so at first they were like, hey, why do people have to qualify for that what was it, the Bootio match, the ladder match with the big cereal up on top? And so they had some people qualify, some people didn't. And when Tony tried to explain why people had to and other people didn't, it was like not a great explanation. And then ultimately in a different interview, he said, look, bottom line, I really want to see Lance Archer and Phoenix wrestle. Sometimes I just want to watch two people have a good match because I think they'll have an incredible match. He's booking it like it's a video game. He's not booking it like it's a long-term book. You know what I mean? Where Eric Bischoff constantly talks about in his podcast over and over again, 3-act storylines. That's what he was trying to do with WCW when they were at their best. That's what they were doing. That each show had 3 acts. You had Act 1, which led into Act 2, which led into Act 3. May have a cliffhanger or not because they're from like pay-per-view to pay-per-view. There was another 3-act storyline that you were getting the little bits to that would culminate in the big climax. So the idea of this long-term storytelling, I think, was actually kind of perfected by Bischoff. I think WWF at the time did a great job figuring out how to do that too. And I think a lot of people have lost their way. And I think at this point, it's all GM mode on wrestling games for Tony. It's like, oh, these two would have a good match because they're both good wrestlers. But, I mean, you look at Stone Cold and Hogan having never wrestled, two of the biggest names, and one of the reasons being is Stone Cold has said on his podcast that he just didn't think the story was ever there, and he wasn't just going to do it. That's why he didn't do Brock. That's why he walked away from Brock. There was no story there. He goes, you're not just going to put me up against Brock with no story just to have the match and move on.
Wait, let me ask you, have you ever seen Austin versus Savage on a WCW Saturday night or something like that?
When he was the blonde, who did he win the TV title from? It was Steamboat, wasn't it?
Steamboat, I think. Well, my point is,
I saw that one.
there's like a 25th anniversary show for the NWA or some shit like that. And it's a WCW Saturday night program or whatever, but it's the only time Austin wrestled Savage. And at the time, WCW was doing the leaderboards, and Austin was like ranked like 5th or 3rd or something like that in one of the rankings to either be I guess he was like 3rd in the US title scene, right? And then he was like 5th or 7th in the heavyweight title scene in their rankings. It's kind of what Austin has always done, has been like, hey, like, give me the story and we'll get there. And I'm fairly certain that he would have wanted Savage to say the same thing for him back then, where it's like, if we can, like this, because everyone said it back then that Austin was a mechanic and a half. He could wrestle his ass off. And if Savage knows talent, which I think we all know he knows talent, especially for what Austin went to go on to do with Steamboat, to do it for the sake of building character and having great matches, why hotshot anything? Let's do this shit with a story. And the fact that Austin and Savage only touched that once, and it was mostly bullshit wrestling. It wasn't even in the ring. It was, but anyway, I agree with you.
But I mean, but on paper, kudos to AEW for trying to put together a show that they think will be takeover quality. We'll see what happens. I just don't think it will. I don't know that that takeover is gonna like dominate the scene necessarily, but I do know that they're going to be the talk of the weekend. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, me and you, we don't get into the whole ratings war thing anyway. We don't follow the numbers. We pretty much mock those that do. But the numbers last week, from what I was hearing, is that it was a significant shift in the amount of gain that NXT had just in the ranking of shows, not necessarily the viewers, but just where they stood amongst the rating share of the night. Yeah. They had jumped like from 12 to 7 or some shit like that. And I was just wondering if they were just legit building that kind of momentum, because there was nothing last week to really ride home about. It was just continuation of story, And so I'm wondering if that's going to happen this week.
It was kind of a big go-home show, which was really good. Sometimes those go-home shows can be the thing to watch. Sometimes, like Raw, it can be a thing that just happens. Yeah,
Raw was a rough one.
Yeah, the last couple weeks of Raw, here's the problem I've had with a number, or the times I have major issues with like Raw or SmackDown, it's when the episodes become very staticky and just kind of placeholders and, hold the line. And I feel like ever since Fastlane, they immediately just said, okay, everything's already in place, just hold the line. They've had very few things that are moving forward, especially when it comes to Drew. The next night, they said Drew's going to be the main event against Bobby Lashley. And then it's like, well, how do we tell a story week after week where none of the story changes? You know what I mean?
Let me ask you this. I know we kind of agree on the value of McIntyre. What's your opinion on Bobby Lashley going on in the middle of the show to have his matches? The last 2 weeks, he's gone on at like 9:30. And Drew closes the show.
Yeah, because it's just a huge sign that they are not behind Bobby.
Sad.
That's all it is. It's they moved the title. It's what we said the second it happened, man. I was like, this is so incredible. However, if this whole fucking thing is just a big Drew McIntyre pity party, it's going to be real transparent, real fast, and be real shitty. And that's all this is. This whole thing is about getting Drew McIntyre his cheers with the crowd because he deserves it literally more than anybody else during the entire year. Like, no one else had to wrestle on an empty building but Drew. That's the way they talk about it. The fact that Bayley doesn't have a match.
That's crazy.
Match. You're telling me you couldn't throw together some sort of four corners for some random fucking reason, a number one contender, or after Mania they get to pick which brand they go to, or something kooky for no reason, just toss in Bayley, Charlotte, Peyton, and Carmella.
Well, I just talked about 2.5, 3 hours earlier today with my guys over at Chat Grapple and Cheats podcast. They came on my show to talk some Wrestlemania.
Those guys are super British.
Dude, it was so much fun, man. I can't wait to fix the audio. But yeah, they're awesome. They are super British. They fucking love wrestling. But my guy JB said one thing. He said, because he digs a little bit into the dirt sheets for clarity, and the thought of Bayley and Charlotte entering the tag team turmoil and kind of derailing things a bit. As much as I don't want to see it, I think I kind of want to see it because as everything that's happening with Mania, Bayley deserves something. She deserves to be there. She did so much to get us there. You know what I mean? Like, I know you know that, but like Bayley has done so much to draw us in, to keep us going. And then even when she was handed the emptiness of Ding Dong Hello, she made it her own. And now it's gone. For what? She deserves more than this.
Yeah. She literally trends on Twitter after every WWE show because people just get so outraged. Even after Raw. She's not even on that show. But so in Raw, you had like SmackDown tag teams come out and attack to kind of build that gauntlet thing. And they're all like, why isn't Bayley involved in this? And I hear you. I think Bayley and Carmella could easily have been a tag team for the thing. They were a tag team in NXT, but I don't know. I don't know. I know the other theory a lot of people have is that the Iconics come back together and to derail the gauntlet. I don't know how I feel about that. But you know what? We'll talk about that in just a minute. There's one other bit of news. Because I think what we're going to do is we're going to hit this last other bit of news. And then we're just going to talk general WrestleMania, talk nostalgic WrestleMania, and then call it a night. We're not going to break down everything. Like I said, there's so much content out there already. The fact that anybody's coming in to have a drink with us at all. Let's just hang, have a drink. It's more like, hey, tonight, instead of staying up all night around a campfire like we seem to do every week, this night is going to be like, hey, let's just go catch a beer at the bar and then go home. You know what I mean? The other big piece of news that everyone's talking about, and I don't know if you guys talked about it. I do know, though, I really got a kick out of when you were talking to Chat Grapple and Cheap Pops, and you were talking about Billie Kay, and they're like, yeah, she was walking on the CVs, and you're like, no, the resumes. And I was like, this idiot.
Yeah, I know. I know.
And then they're like, the CVs, and you had that look again, like, why do they keep saying that? And I was like, oh, I wish I could.
I figured it out later. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it struck me right because I'm obsessed with British culture in a lot of ways. I watch everything that Ricky Gervais does. He's not the only one I watch everything of, but like I've seen so much British TV and listened to so much British radio that I hear those and don't think twice about it. But the second he said it, I was like, wait. I looked at you and I was like, is he not?
Look, so Mrs. TW Takes got into Bridgerton, right? And I mocked it. I mocked it the whole time. And I'm over here doing the worst over-exaggerated British accents and saying the most obscene things British to a 10 time, right? Yeah. And I did it so much that Junior TW Takes, TMT Takes himself, that's terrible movie takes, would tell me to stop. Dad, stop doing it. And then I told him today, I said, look, bud, I need you to be quiet and hang out upstairs because Daddy's got to, do a podcast with his friends from the UK. And he said, well, are you going to talk like them?
Did you say my name?
Yeah, what's up?
You said my name.
I said Mrs. TW Takes.
Oh, got it.
You going to say hi to Marsh?
Oh, sure.
What's
Hi, Marsh.
up? What's up, wife?
Oh,
I was going to say, I can't hear
she
anything.
Can't hear because I got the headphones.
I don't know what you're saying to me, but all right, dope. Is he talking about his fake British accent?
Yes.
You're horrible. Ew, fucking Bridgerton.
Yeah, it sounds like that.
Okay, bye.
Bye. And then, so my son asked me when I was all done, he goes, hey, did you talk like them? I said, no. He's like, well, you have to talk like them so they can understand what you're saying.
True. Absolutely true.
And it turns out when they said CVs, I had no clue what they were saying. So yes, I am just a fraud American.
I was hoping they were going to say that something got nipped, and I was hoping you'd be super confused as well, because that's when they steal something, it's a nip. And when they take a nap, it's a kip. But I was hoping to see them do something like that just to get you go like, are they fucking talking about nipples now?
No. I talk to those guys all the time. We DM constantly. I'm such a huge fan of their show. If you could tell just from listening to them talk about anything when it comes to wrestling, they're so passionate about it. And no offense to them or anyone else or even Santino himself, but they did an interview with Santino and they talked to him like he was Hogan in the 80s. The reverence they have for the people who put in the work. It's a phenomenal listen. I can't recommend them enough to anyone else. And the fact that they did my show today was awesome. So
yeah.
They're on my intro. I had to nip them like I nipped you to get on my intro.
I actually get a kick out of it when your wife shows up, because it starts off with me being like Mrs. TW Takes, and then you just hear go like, I'm a wife. So funny. But that's also part of the theme tonight, dude. I mean, we're just grateful and thankful for what wrestling has brought about to us and the connections we've made. And a week this big of WrestleMania is all about celebrating all that. We'll get into some of that
Absolutely.
too. Jericho was announced to be on Stone Cold Steve Austin's Broken Skull Sessions. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
It's one of the few impressions I don't consider myself good at all. I cannot nail one. I'm usually pretty good at figuring out something that's close. I can't come close to a Stone Cold.
I think that if I'm doing it in passing as a joke of like just a hell yeah, it's not bad. But anytime I go like I'm gonna do a Stone Cold, it's awful. It's just.
And then you hear AJ and the Good Brothers do it, and it's like that's the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I fucking loved that.
Their Stone Colds are so good.
So good.
Oh yeah. So but yeah, good. Jericho being on the Broken Skull. The only thing I don't fucking like about it is all those AEW throwers out there going, "See, the Forbidden Door's open. Forbidden Door's open." It's like, shut the fuck up.
So crazy. You know what? I heard someone say this, and I was all like, "You gotta be fucking kidding me." Person was all like, "This is right on brand with everything Cody and Kenny and the Young Bucks have always said." They've never said they were competition. They've never claimed to be competition. They never said this was anything other than trying to change the business and open up collaboration and break down that forbidden door. This is exactly like they've always said. And I was like, that is quite a way to remember it.
Yeah.
Because I was there. I was at StarCast right before Double or Nothing. And I remember walking out of the Young Bucks interview, and I'm sure it's still up there. Go find it. And I walked away there going like, man, they talked a lot about WWE and their disdain for it. Now they actually want to take on the WWE. They think that they're going to do better than the WWE. That is their goal. Then Cody said in an interview that same week that although they're not technically competition, he did say that because of the history with his dad and everything, he goes, I would love to take down the WWE. He goes, that's one of my goals here, to get this brand so big it can actually take on the WWE and maybe even take it over. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, that's not a good place to start. But maybe that's a good place. Maybe it's a nice, passionate place to be. But if you don't remember any of that and you just go, oh, no, it's all been about the Forbidden Door because Tony Khan does his Impact promos, then okay. Did this break down a Forbidden Door, Bishop?
No. I it's one of the few articles that I clicked on was the because it said Stone Cold says, and when he says it says, right? Yeah. The Stone Cold says how it happened. So I clicked on it, and it was he sends a text to Vince. Vince goes, yeah. Stone Cold's like, huh? Let me ask him again. Hey, can I do this? He goes, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. So it was Stone Cold's idea the whole time. They're going to do about 5 hours, cut it down to an hour and a half, and it'll be what it is, right? Yeah. And then there's like 5 paragraphs, a whole bunch of shit, and like the last line of it is, oh, and Tony Khan approves too. Like, it had nothing to do with what AEW wanted to do to make Jericho a part of this. It was Austin's idea. They executed it. If AEW was consulted, it didn't seem like Vince McMahon called Tony Khan and say, hey, we really need Jericho on this show. No, it sounds like it was a handshake deal across the board. And by the time the higher ups heard of it, they go, yeah, great idea.
Yeah, fine. Because here's the deal. Here's what I think. And I'm a journalist, so that makes it fact. I can tell you exactly what's going on in Vince McMahon's mind because I know him better than anybody because I also have never met him or talked to him, just like all the other journalists who pretend. Oh, shit.
Fair point.
Hold on. Hold on. That's quite interesting. Hold on. All right, there you go. Don't worry, it's only episode 1. I had deadbolted the door and producer couldn't get in, so don't worry.
Nice. Now she can change it from 4/1 to 4/6. This show is no longer an April Fool's show. It will continue to be an episode 1, but this time without glare in my face. I don't know what the hell's on the monitor on Twitch, but hey.
I don't see any glare on your face on my Twitch.
Did you bump your ring light or some shit? Or it's the door opened.
The door
opened.
Close
the door. Close the door. Close the door.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, there you go. So here's the deal. Here's what's going on. Here's what's going on with Vince McMahon. I can tell you because I'm a journalist, so I can tell you exactly what he's thinking.
And you work there just as long as all the other journalists, right?
Yes, I've worked for Vince McMahon exactly as long and as much as Meltzer has. Okay, we have the same history with the WWE. So here's the deal. Vince McMahon doesn't give a shit, man. He doesn't give a fuck because AEW has nothing to offer him. What are they going to do? Play a whole bunch of shitty botches of a blown out Jericho and say, hey, tell me about this, kid. No. No, Vince already owns all of the good footage of Jericho. Vince already created the star that is Jericho. Jericho didn't show up to AEW and have to prove himself. AEW
Correct.
said, look at our WWE star we have. Now we'll make him the champion. Vince McMahon has everything he already needs. So when Stone Cold's like, hey, can I have Jericho on the podcast? He goes, yeah, we got all the good stuff that you want to talk about anyways.
No, it's a fair point.
It wasn't a conversation of Tony Khan trying to be like, well, do I have rights of the AEW? Can I work with Tony and get some footage of that? He doesn't need it. He doesn't want it. If you want Jericho to look like a star, put him next to Stone Cold talking about what he used to do.
Oh, call Miss Amanda Jane so she can tell you the exact footage from AEW that they should use on the Broken Skull sessions. I'll wait because I watched most of what Jericho did when it was good in AEW as far as AEW is concerned. But there's no footage from AEW that they need. None.
And here's the other thing is I know I'm a big fan of Sam Roberts. It's not a secret. We've talked about it before. And he went on a long thing about it this week where he talked about how difficult it is to get things done when you have good ideas and getting it approved by this person and that person. But that all feels super contradictory. No, just in general, just to get something done in any company, because he talks about other jobs.
Oh, okay.
You know, if you've ever been in a job, to say, I've got a great idea. How about we implement this? Your boss says it's great. Their boss says, forget it. It goes away. This seems like romanticizing the simplicity of what actually happened here. Stone Cold literally texted Vince and said, hey, do you mind? Vince said, don't care. And he goes, are you sure? And he said, thumbs up. Do it. Because it doesn't matter to Vince right now. Because Jericho has nothing... Tony has nothing to offer them in terms of AEW. I do think this is a super positive thing. I think this is fantastic for Stone Cold, for WWE, and for AEW. It makes WWE look great because, look, they're, quote, working with the other guys. AEW has everything to gain by getting Jericho next to Stone Cold on the WWE network because he will look like a star again because that's the last place he looked like a star.
So remember back in the 90s where, everyone on WWE would say, and the guys down south, and everyone WCW and up north, that's the thing of the past. We don't have to live in that era anymore, and not even in the, as they would say, kayfabe way. Just in the reality of what this is. Jericho is with another company, but his catalog is massive in the WWE.
Yes,
that's what this is, and there's no shame on either side. I mean, look, Bischoff has done more work with AEW in the past 12 months than he has any other company, and he's going into the WWE Hall of Fame.
What's wrong with that? AEW is good for WWE, and I think Vince knows
1,000%.
I mean, obviously, I'm best friends with Vince McMahon and knows what happens in his mind because I'm a wrestling journalist, so I'm allowed to just say that. But according to Big Show, he gets a surprise job from AEW. And a phone call from Vince saying, congratulations, though they can really learn a lot from you. You'll be a huge impact to them if they allow that. He didn't give a shit. That's good news for Vince. Oh, he's off my payroll and on somebody else's? I wasn't going to do much with him anyways. Whenever he's done over there, I can go pop him into the Hall of Fame. And what good graces. Big Show's got nothing bad to say about Vince.
Very true.
Nothing bad to say about Vince.
Were we proved right as fans who didn't want it to be about competition per se? So what I'm getting at is everyone shows up early on, from Moxley on Jericho's podcast to Miro saying it right into the fucking TV, brass ring, shove it up your ass, WWE this and that, and talk all the shit nonstop. And it's like, how about you don't talk shit and you just fucking wrestle, right? If again, the product on AEW was a just quality wrestling show. Doesn't have to be WWE or WWE light. I mean, honestly, Impact, but on a bigger scale. Because Impact had a quality show, and now nobody watches it. What's wrong with that? And doing it not because I mean, the fucking Matt Cardona shows up on Dynamite, has a tag match with Cody, honestly looks pretty fucking good, and did nothing afterwards. So what good, like you said, what does AEW do for WWE except, kind of just prove them right? Like, here, take the payroll, let them work if that's what you're going to do with them. But, I don't know. I felt like every time somebody came up and bashed the product, it was like, why are you bashing WWE? Just go work. I don't leave an employer, then bash it. I just go work somewhere else. Why don't you go work somewhere else? And now, instead of giving people reasons to shit on them, a la Andrade, if he felt like doing it, they're just saying, oh, Christian, man, I'm sorry. We're not going to be able to get you in the ring. If you feel like signing somewhere else, go ahead. And now they can.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And lets them all do the work that they want to do. Aaron says in the chat, we are watching a Vince who has learned from the past. Maybe. I mean, yeah, from the degree that he knows a threat when he sees one. And I think that what we saw is right when AEW first popped up, he offered everybody enormous contracts. He offered the Good Brothers crazy high contracts, the Revival crazy high contracts. As time went on, they started going, these people aren't worth this to us. And that other company's not really doing anything. Let them go there. You know what I mean? They're no longer going to pay to hold on to people because they see what's happening over in AEW.
Right.
And I think that having Jericho on Stone Cold's podcast is fantastic because it allows Vince to further solidify the star that he created in Jericho. And it makes him look like he's good working with other companies, which they've always done. We went on, Clump listed fucking like 9 or 10 different companies that WWE had worked with before in the past. They're always open for business, as they say. Right. They're always open to work with somebody, but they're not just going to pay you to give them nothing. You know what I mean? So they just asked, Stone Cold, can I do it? Vince said, yeah, I don't care. Do it. Okay, cool. Because he knows that he doesn't have to go any further. Vince knows he doesn't have to call Tony Khan and say, how is this going to work out? He knows that Tony's going to be giddy just to put Jericho over there. He knows that they don't need to pay for any AEW footage. They don't need to talk about that. That's the other thing. Somebody else is like, it's going to be incredible when he starts talking about why he left WWE. It's going to be amazing to find out what he thinks about after all that stuff and what it was like saying that to Vince and all that. If you want to know that, Jericho has like 5 podcasts about that.
Right.
Jericho's podcast has covered all of that. I think more than anything, Stone Cold has his work cut out for him because it's on him now to get something, anything out of Jericho that we haven't heard before. Because that dude has 4 books, a podcast that's been on for 3 years, maybe longer, probably longer.
I think longer, yeah, but still.
Yeah, like 8 years, something crazy. He's done every interview that's ever been put in front of him. He's never shied away from telling everybody exactly how he feels at any moment. So good luck finding anything we don't already know from Jericho. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember you made that point when it was first announced, and I was like, of course I didn't think of that because you take it as face value because it's brand new. But you're right, and I used to listen to Jericho's podcast, and then he added in 100 more ads, and I was like, all right, I'm not going to listen to you read ads for half the show. Yeah. And he's one hell of an orator. He holds a fantastic interview, and you're right. The first time he holds something, or the next time he holds something back, will be the first time. So it's not like we're going to get necessarily anything new unless they talk nuance. I was actually just thinking yesterday. I never did tune in to the Edge and Christian show when they had Stone Cold and Bret Hart on to talk about that match together. And I don't know if that's still out there, but that's something I would like to do. This might be a point in time where, what if they talk about the undisputed matches that Jericho had? Because, Jericho, I'm the first undisputed champion of all time. And then from what we've heard, at least I know I've heard, The Rock and Stone Cold were like, we don't fucking need it. But we don't need it. Like, why are you going to make us the undisputed champion? Fuck it. Let somebody else have it. Angle, Jericho, doesn't matter. So I would like to hear them talk about that. Maybe there's a match.
And that's exactly why I think this is going to be can't miss. Because if you watch all the other Broken Skulls, that's the stuff that Stone Cold gets into. Hey, what was going on in your mind at this moment right here?
Yes.
You know what I mean? And what were you doing at this moment? Hey, from my perspective, when you won the title, I feel like this kind of thing changed. What would you say about that? He's asking questions that only a Stone Cold could ask.
Yeah.
And Jericho's only telling stories to fluff himself up.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So if you listen to all of Jericho's podcasts and stories, it's all about how amazing everything it is that Jericho ever does. I'm not saying Stone Cold's going to go in there and cut him down, but I'm saying he's not going to go in there and say, give me another puff piece. He's going to go in there and say, let's talk about some actual stuff. Let's talk about why so many people in the industry say you're one of the greatest wrestling minds to ever go. Yeah, let's get into that. Not let's get into tell me about a time that you thought you were amazing. Right. He's going to get into that stuff. Like, did you watch the Randy Orton one?
No, I didn't get a chance yet. It came on after a watch along, and then I never tuned back in.
I didn't get a chance to watch it till like 2 days ago, and it is incredible. You have to watch it. I almost cried throughout the whole thing.
Oh, I heard great things. Randy Orton, and maybe that's the key to who he is today. Over the last 3 years, at least from what I've seen and heard on the outside, he's opened his mind up to that level that Triple H has always talked about, where Triple H is like, yeah, Randy could be the best if he wants to be. And he's opened his mind to being that. And when he's talking the psychology of the business, I can only imagine how well it comes off. So I am excited to watch it. I mean, but you've seen my podcast schedule over the last week or so. Yeah. It's been tough to kind of trying to get extra content in. Yeah.
That's definitely one to go through and check out. There is one moment in one of them where Stone Cold plays a clip and shows that Orton's like looking over to the side. He's looking up. It's right when he goes to win the ladder match. I don't want to spoil too much for you, but this is one point that I think is amazing and exactly the type of thing I want to get out of Jericho. He shows him looking down, shows him looking up at the titles. He's looking over at the camera and he kind of looks down and stuff. And he's just kind of like looking back and forth and he's got this like intense look on his face. And Stone Cold's like, what's going on in your mind right there? And Randy Orton more or less just says, well, I knew the camera was on me, so I was making facial expressions for the camera. Because that's what we do here. We add drama by facial expressions, not by other things. You know what I mean?
Super kicks.
Yeah. And that's more or less what he said. He was all like, well, the camera was on me. And so I was playing to the camera because I knew it was only on me. And I thought if I looked to the side, it would add a little bit of drama because facial expressions add more drama than anything else I could do. And you're all like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
He just told Stone Cold, what were you doing when you were playing to the camera? He goes, I was playing for the camera because what the fuck do you do when the camera's on you? Like, it was so good, dude. And that's the kind of stuff I want to hear out of Jericho is what was going on here? Why did this decision happen and not why do you think this decision makes you look good? You know what I mean? Like, I think it'll be really cool, fascinating. I think it's incredible for AEW because it's going to have Jericho elevated to a new height that I don't think, frankly, AEW's been able to move. I think this is the kind of thing that will actually elevate Jericho because all Jericho's done since he got to AEW is tarnish his name, look like a fool online, flop around gassed in the ring. Sorry.
I want to the only question I want to hear answered, especially from Stone Cold, is why did you stop using the Lion Tamer?
He still uses it.
But he went from Lion Tamer to the Lion Tamer where he would put the knee on the back of the neck and do the standing Boston Crab.
Oh, yeah. He just does a typical Boston Crab now, but he still calls it that.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. But, it's the Walls of Jericho. When he went to WWE, I've heard him talk about it, but in a way where it's like, oh, well, I had to do a different move. So it turned into like a standing Boston Crab without the knee on, between the shoulder blades. But he used to put that knee between the shoulder blades and crank the legs back when he was in WCW. I'm like, and Lion Tamer is a hell of a fucking name. Walls of Jericho, I get it, but I'm 11, not political. Or however old I was then, 13,
well,
14.
I think that in AEW they call us Boston Crab the Lion Tamer because I don't think they recognize the difference like you pointed out, which is absolutely true. Sense. Aaron does say he hopes that Jericho does some ad reads on Stone Cold's podcast. Someone made a really good point when Conrad was on AEW and he got the chance to ask a question. They said someone's like, it was a completely missed opportunity to not do an ad break before they got Conrad's answer, or the answer to Conrad's question. And Conrad retweeted that, and he was like, this is absolutely true. Well, yeah. Takes gets it. He gets it.
I want ads on my show, but if I ever get more ads than the one I put on there, they will be done Joe Rogan style in the beginning and the end. I cannot stand any podcast I listen to, and I'm sorry if your podcast out there has them. I most likely don't listen. If you put ads in the middle of the show, it's a rough listen. It's a rough listen. Put them at the beginning, put them at the end. Let me get the content that I came here for, and for that, I will hang on to them at the end. But there's plenty of podcasts, pop culture or otherwise, that I stopped listening because there's ads in the middle.
Yeah. 100%. Actually, Wade Keller, I listened to his podcast one time. What? We're back.
No, I'm on a delay with Twitch, and it went black. So that's what the hold on was for.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. So we heard you, but yeah, Wade Keller's podcast, I listened to it when Moxley went over there to do his interview, and the amount of ads throughout that interview was so infuriating. I have never listened to an episode again.
Aren't they all for the PW Torch anyway?
Yes, and they would be back to back, and they would repeat. Sometimes it would be the same one 3 times in a row,
right.
And it would happen in the middle of sentences. And it was so much. And then after at the end of each one of the ads, it was like, if you want to ad free one, go pay for this over here. And I was like, you know what? You making it torture to get through your podcast is not enticing me to pay to have the ads removed. It entices me to literally never listen to your podcast again. And I haven't. I just wanted to hear what Moxley had to say the one time. And he's had other people on since that I go, oh, that would be incredible to know what they have to say. Too bad I'll never hear it because I'm not sitting through that again.
Right.
So I hear you. But again, I think it's fantastic for WWE to get to highlight Jericho and talk about some of the great things he has done. It's going to be incredible for AEW to have Jericho reshape his image in a different way. It's going to be awesome to see Stone Cold get exactly what I said out of him, which is something we haven't heard out of him already, which is it feels like there can't be anything we don't already know. But I feel like there's a lot of things that Jericho's going to ask that Stone Cold will ask Jericho that Jericho never would have thought to bring up on his own. And I think that's what we get out of Jericho is what he thinks to bring up on his own. So I'm excited for it for that reason. I'm excited for both companies for doing it. But I do think that as a community, we are a little bit overplaying the importance of this. This doesn't open up AEW to work with WWE in a weekly way. They're not going to be borrowing talent. They're not going to be showing a bunch of AEW content. I think all it does... And it also, this isn't a sign that Tony Khan and Vince McMahon are becoming fast friends. This is strictly a sign. Stone Cold asked Jericho if he could put him on the podcast. Asked Vince if he could put Jericho on the podcast. Vince said yes. They're doing it. They're going to talk about Jericho's WWE career. I'm wondering if they're even going to mention AEW. I think they will, just to get that little factor that ooh. But I think it's going to be short and sweet. I think it'll be short and sweet. Mm-hmm. You know. What do you think about what? How's it going over there in that new place that you're at? Tell me a little bit about it. What's that culture like? What makes it different, right? And then Jericho's going to be like, the culture's great. They listen to everything I have to say. No one ever tells me no. I get whatever I want. I don't work out anymore. You know what I mean?
We got a lot of young, hungry talent who are really, really trying their best to put in their all when they get in the ring. Yeah, all that shit.
Yeah. It's ECW,
now, people expect
but
them
better.
To say, oh, it's so cool because they all get to write their own stories, and it never shows on TV.
Yeah, no, never show. And you know, everyone's going, oh my God, he's going to talk about fuck Vince McMahon, and that's why he went to AEW. No, he even said on his own podcast about having a phone call conversation with Vince before he did it.
Yeah,
Vince, I want to do this,
and after
getting Vince's
he's communicated with Vince after.
Yeah, everybody fucking calm down.
You got to listen to pay attention.
Yeah. That's the one thing that gets me the most about these journalist websites is how many of them literally pull quotes from Twitter or a podcast that's already out there.
Right.
It's why I've unsubscribed to everyone that I was a part of. They all became titles of this guy said this on Twitter. Well, I'll just follow them then. And I went and followed them and unfollowed the other account. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, if you guys are just going to report what Randy Orton says on Twitter, I'll just follow Randy Orton and unfollow you. Now I get to see it.
And Randy Orton is a great Twitter follow.
He is, actually. He's fantastic. But all of that, people being like, oh, JR said this on his podcast. All right, I'll just listen to JR's podcast then. I can stop listening to yours. Like, 100%. And I know that that's a little bit pot kettle because I did just talk a little bit about what Sam Roberts was saying on his podcast, but there's a lot more going on over there than going on over here. And it was just kind of a, back and forth. It's not the meat of what we do here, reporting on what other podcasts do.
Yeah, we don't. We're not professional, so we don't really count.
Well, then again, you do talk about me a lot.
We are fucking professional. Yeah, we broke the story that Bishop's in Delaware. We broke that here.
Who was asking? No one was asking. I'm sorry.
Oh shit.
Yeah, no one else was talking about that until we did.
No one was. No. Even though I said it to Graham when he was on my show for 2 hours. But that's fine.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, you just got to pay attention. That's all.
Hey, is anybody else Twitch is just shut down? My Twitch is just shut down on me.
No, mine's up. I still don't see you on Zoom, so I have to put my Zoom over our Twitch feed.
It's all right. I don't
so
see
I can
you either,
see the
dude.
chat.
I'm behind the thing. I think it's just my Twitch is erroring out on my phone. So let me know if anything comes through the chat. But
Nightbot.
yeah, but it is good news for Jericho and Stone Cold both. To be honest, it's good news for Tony and Vince both. I think it makes them all look good. Producer had something she wants to say?
I wonder if they're going to talk about their boozes. They both have boozes.
That's actually funny. They could both talk about what booze they have. Stone Cold could be like, "We're about to make a lager," and then Jericho goes, "Yeah, I don't know. They just keep putting my face on this bottle, and I make money on it." I don't think for 1 second Jericho has put any effort into that champagne on the level at which Stone Cold has put into his. Yeah, no. I think that Tony Khan made a few phone calls, found a place.
Joking. I don't need analysis on this one, guy. Come on.
No. Jericho's like, Tony Khan made a phone call, and then now my face is on a thing. There's a toy of it. Why do you do like actual work for your beer? And Stone Cold's like, hell yeah. What?
I tell you, look, I was listening to Stone Cold's podcast. Again, that's how I got back into wrestling. I remember him going through the process to make this beer. He never stopped.
Yeah,
what are you doing,
he
baby?
actually just announced the other night. He actually just announced they're going to be making a lager, but he says it's probably going to be a year or two down the line. That's how much work's getting into it. You know what I mean? Like, that's fantastic. You brought a dog on?
Well,
who's the pooch?
She got through the basement door. This is Gypsy. Gypsy, say hi. Yes. Gypsy doesn't like the camera, but she likes Daddy. There she is. There she is. Yes. Go upstairs. Good girl.
Yeah. Go on now.
Go. Yeah, I'm a little upset that the strawberry banana seltzer or whatever it was is not going to be a thing. It was only a April Fool's joke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was. I know they came downstairs. I didn't know she snuck.
It's all good. It's all good. She was on TV for a little bit.
Yeah, we got her.
She's a star.
Yeah. We should have teased that for 2 weeks like NXT did. We fucked up, man.
Yeah.
Aaron makes a good point. You have to text Vince and find out if it's okay to have Gypsy on. Get that thumbs up or not. Got to text producer.
It's all double E's in here.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a thing. Our dogs have double E's for their names.
Oh, like EG's.
I guess so.
Double E. It's a sandwich shop here locally. There's a huge
sponsored, not sponsored.
Sponsored, not sponsored. EG. We talked about it before.
I was so close to just driving through and getting some slushies.
You should have.
I know, and then I could add some vodka to it. Oh, it
yeah,
been
little
so
vodka
good.
with that watermelon pineapple flavor of the month. Double EG, double E. Sorry.
You can't gimmick infringement on Amanda Jane. You can't go slushy and liquor. That's her thing.
I know. That's what I was saying. Well, I think she's the inspiration.
Yeah, she's the
Gotcha.
California version. We
Gotcha.
got the Arizona version out here with EG's.
Good point. California Sonic.
Excuse me.
Arizona EG's. Mm-hmm.
Right.
You're like, yeah, my head's up my ass, I guess. Okay.
I mean.
But yeah, so there was that news, and I just wanted to say that because I thought it's a little bit ridiculous that everyone's all like, "This is incredible." You go, "No, this is good news. There's a difference."
Yeah, Jericho spent 5 minutes with one company and 20 years with another, and it's outlandish that he would be on their show.
Yeah, to talk about his career. You think he can't wait to talk about his Mimosa match? I feel like they're not going to cover it in depth.
No, they're not going to get the video. They're not going to pay. They're not going to pay for the rights to air that on Peacock. Are you sure?
So Stone Cold's like, I'm going to stop you right here, son. All right, hold on. Back against the wall. This shot right here. You're going midair. You know you're about to hit that orange juice. What's going on in your mind? What's going on in your mind right there? And Jericho's like,
now, because it's a liquid, it doesn't have to be a flat back.
Oh, I'm back. Our audio is out.
Is this
I can't hear
episode
anything, but
what number?
Recorded.
What episode is this?
What keeps I don't know. Go up to the speaker. Let's see if we can put that over to switch it to something else, and then switch it to multi. Don't do that. That'll turn my mic off.
TWTakespodcast.com for all audio platforms. TWTakespodcast.com/TWTs for all your shirts. I'm wearing the white one tonight.
No, none of it's about input. It's about output.
We have pink, white,
how did my
blue,
audio get cut for that?
red,
Yeah, but
and
the audio
orange.
has nothing to do with my microphone.
Singles, 2-packs,
Go to
3-packs, 5-packs. Go to TWTakespodcast.com/TWTs.
Go to the settings, bottom left of Streamlabs. Go to monitor. Search.
Does Gypsy want to get on the show again?
Change that to multi. No.
There's another dog that wants to come on the show. Fucking dog hair on my mic.
We're back. We're back, baby. Don't kick anything. You don't kick anything.
This will be like the third time he's.
Hey, you guys not sponsored by that diner anymore?
Black Bear Diner. They never got back to us. They tweeted us the one time. It was great, but
no, it's fucked up.
They probably saw the product.
They said we'll sponsor episode 2. And I was like, fuck.
It's definitely not this episode.
Yeah, we're all over the place.
This
This
is
is what
definitely
happens when
not
we
an
start a
episode
show
2.
without producer.
Yeah, you start kicking all the cables.
It lacks in production. Production has been the weakness of this episode.
Hey, do you know what I'm trying to contain here?
All right. I mean, it's funny. Aaron's in the chat saying, I can hear you. And I was like, that's the only thing I knew for sure is that the podcast was going off just fine. And we were just trying to get ourselves so we can hear our own podcast back. So there's like a chunk of the show that's happening without me. And I'm like, I'm back.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was still happening.
We could see Bishop talking and couldn't hear anything.
Yeah. So here we go. All right. Good news for Jericho. Good news for WWE. Not a big deal.
Oh, shit. Here we go.
Oh, shit. Here we go. Bishop. Because this is a week.
Yes, sir.
A marathon of all-out wrestling. I thought it might be a cool little time for us to just take a moment, acknowledge the fact that wrestling is what has brought all of this community together. As Justin 211 constantly says, our side of the IWC, because we are a side that is happy and willing to take pot shots at each other, give each other a hard time, verbally noogie each other, as it were, and keep on ticking. The whole point of this show, when it started, and still remains to be, is just to be the internet's answer to a place you can talk wrestling with each other and not feel fear of getting ridiculed, mocked, and shut down, or whatever you want to call it. You're not going to lose friends by telling us you like a thing we don't like, or you're not going to lose friends by telling me that I like something stupid. We're all going to laugh about it, have a drink, and keep moving forward. And I think that's what our side of the IWC is all about. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
No, absolutely. Look, absolutely. I just had Justin Time 211 on my podcast last week. You know, last Thursday he came on, did an outstanding job, especially for someone who's doesn't do broadcasting. And I'm a shit broadcaster as it is. I just started in August. And like I told him, and I'll say it to death, my podcast exists because there wasn't people like me podcasting. And then I get into the community, which this is something new, I'll say. And there are guys like me who are just actual fans who take the time to watch the actual product to give an actual real feeling about it. And we double back on our feelings as well. I mean, remember the TLC watch along, how fucking, or Royal Rumble watch along. And we have these, what the fuck is going on in the real heat of time. Watch it 2 days later. We adjust our opinions because we put the time and effort in. But there's other wrestling podcasts out there that fucking, I didn't get a time to watch, but I watched the highlights. What did you think? And they rely on the co-host, all this shit. And it's like, are you putting out content to put out content? You put out content because you give a shit. And I think because we take the time to give a shit and we put the effort in to give a respectable opinion, from our side of this IWC, it's nothing but a good thing. Yeah. You know, the name of my show, Terrible Wrestling Takes. It's not because I think I have terrible wrestling takes. It's because I know people out there will think that I have terrible wrestling takes. No, most of the terrible wrestling takes that I have come from you, Marsh. Most of my terrible wrestling takes that I feature come from you.
That's how I know you have them. I slip them to you on the side.
Yeah, hey, talk about this. This is a shit idea that I have. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Great.
See
point.
if I get Bishop to talk about it. See how people respond to it before I bring it up.
But
online.
Seriously, like I came into the IWC because I was on sneaker Twitter, sports Twitter, regular hip hop talking shit Twitter, and that's a cesspool of idiocracy as well. So when I came over to IWC and all I ever heard was the IWC is a bunch of assholes and shitheads who are smart marks and all this blah, 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 blah. This podcasting world that we have on our side of the IWC, it's pretty fucking cool. It's pretty fucking cool. I've done, this is my 4th podcast since Thursday. Thursday I had Just in Time 211, the super fan of our side of the IWC. Saturday, Matt Red Fox, who has his own podcast, Night of Living Podcast, which is a pop culture, talks about everything. And I've heard him on a couple episodes go, I fucking love wrestling. I'm like, dude, you don't love wrestling. You never talk about it. We talked for 3.5 hours on Saturday, and we couldn't find a place to stop. So we just ran out the Wrestlemania card. I talked with Chad Grapple and Cheap Pops today, and I'm talking to you again today as well. And it's just this community of podcasting and podcasting fans who fuck with wrestling and have a good time with it. So when people defend or shit on or whatever it is, talk all the trash in a way where it doesn't leave room for discussion, that's the other side. Yeah. That's the other side. That's somebody else's side. Our side, we talk all day about this shit. And and we talk about it with reverence and respect because we enjoy it.
Yeah. We love it so much. That's what we want to talk about. When we started doing ours, the reason, this is who I blame for all the wrestling podcasts. The reason every fan has a podcast nowadays is because of all the asshole, quote, insider journalists. Because they were spouting all this ridiculous, stupid nonsense, and it would make actual fans upset because you're just glaringly missing the obvious or not even taking into basic human psychology. Or the fact that they would report shit that happened on TV and then be like, oh, well, clearly that means that backstage this was happening. Shut the fuck up. It could also be a whole other thing because you don't know any more than I know. So the reason I think that all these podcasts started popping up is the same reason I've been saying from the beginning. Well, we're wrestling journalists too now because everyone realized people who honestly watch it, who love it and pay attention to the whole world of wrestling have realized that the emperor has no clothes. We've all realized that the big wrestling journalists don't know shit all more than the rest of us. So our opinions are just as valid. And you know what? We're going to have more fun about it because we're not going to be toxic about it. We're going to at least be jokey. We might shit on a thing because we do or don't like it, but we're joking. We're not trying to disrespect the humans. We actually have a ton of respect for the humans that we shit on when we do. But we all just, what? Mac and Fart. Well, no, you said nice things about Mac and Fart. But I think it all comes from that. The internet wrestling community was lacking safe, jovial fandom because of the wrestling journalists out there trying to create controversy and toxicity the way that they were. So just a shout out to our side of the wrestling community. Go ahead.
When do you think it started? Is this a Graham thing? Because Graham always seeks out an episode 1 of a podcast. And I remember introducing you over to him as well. And I'm like, if you like an episode 1, guess what these guys got? A catalog of episode 1s. You're going to love every show. And but by kind of recirculating around with Graham from Good Cop, Bad Cop Wrestling Podcast, Good Bear Wrestle on Twitter, phenomenal supporter of everyone trying their best to do this. Absolutely much admiration for that guy. I'm wondering if that's what happened. We got into this, and maybe, I don't know how much credit I feel like taking or not, but I know what I did is I saw what was happening and I jumped in that circle and I just said, I'm going to surround myself with this circle. And then all the bullshit as people were trying to terrible take this and terrible take that. I got blocked by a guy that you referred me this week What was that, yesterday, the day before? You sent me a tweet. I'm like, I don't know. The guy blocked me. I can't read it.
Which is funny because I was like, this guy's shit take. That's why I was like, where's Bishop to fucking put a stamp on this fucking garbage?
Yeah, I did months ago, and the fucker blocked me. And I looked him up. I shouted him out on my podcast on like fucking episode 8 or 9. Because again, I'm not gonna scroll Twitter, have conversations, bring them up on my podcast, and not give you credit for it. That's how we got connected, right? I saw you did some shit. I mentioned it. The first time you mentioned me on your show, I laughed. We went back and forth. I jumped in the chat. You and producer lady, you're both on my intro. Shout out to Kevlar. He's on there too. I mean, it's this little knit of community. We cut out the bullshit. We have fun. Now we got to grow. We grow together, and we will be the epicenter at some point in time of a new side of the IWC. It's not about pussifying wrestling or wrestling takes. It's about having honest discussions about what this is and the quality of what we see and why we should give a shit.
What was that word?
What does that mean?
Pussifying.
Yeah, what does that mean?
You know what that means.
How do you do that to wrestling? It's about people beating the shit out of each other. I know. Oh, with feelings, but also, shout out to Becky Lynch and the I don't care about your stupid feelings t-shirt. But I think I realized how that happens. You have an exploding death match, and then you have sparklers go off. I can see that.
Correct. Yes. And then when you say, well, this is it. And then when you say, hey, that was stupid. And then they come back and go, well, that's pussifying. It's like, okay, you're right. No, you're right. Let's pussify it and say you're right. No, it fucking sucked.
I think we're done with that word.
There could be another way, I think, to explain it, I feel. But
vaginizing? Vaginizing? Is that what you want to call it?
Well, everyone's allowed to have feelings.
Get medical with it?
Yeah. Well,
we leave room. The point is, we leave room for discussion. That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. It's not, I say one thing and it's automatically I'm offended. No, let's have a discussion about it.
Yeah, and we don't stick to our guns and to the point where we can't be convinced otherwise. Like you said before, if we watch something and say, hey, in the heat of the moment, I'm not feeling this, and then we come back 2 days later being like, I've thought about it and I've turned around. There's a lot of people who stake their claim to each individual opinion they have, and that is it forever. I mean, just take no further look than everyone's internet opinion of Vince McMahon. It's all based off what they saw against Stone Cold in the 90s. None of it's based off of anybody knowing the guy. Or even listening to interviews about the guy. So it's kind of a funny thing. They're like, well, he's an asshole. He wouldn't let Stone Cold be champion. You're like, get the fuck out of here.
Me and you did that about Sami Zayn, right? You told me from the beginning I was getting worked because you saw the forest between the trees, right? You saw what was happening. I didn't see it building to that because I don't think on that level, the conspiracy theory, like how this character can come off in a wrestling context, because I know how good Sami is in the ring. And now that we're at this point, I couldn't be more excited for Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. I wish Logan Paul wasn't there so we can get these two going at it. Because if this is their only shot to have a WrestleMania match, I would hate for Logan Paul to get in there and kind of ruin what could be special. But, without having this particular Sami and a Kevin Owens to kind of beat reality back into him, it's a decent way to approach a WrestleMania match.
I would venture to say that having Logan Paul involved could potentially make it far more special. Because not only is it their one-on-one match to truly do what they want to do, they're also both crazy dudes. Kevin Owens the type of dude, he saw the new stage when they got the new Raw set up and said, yeah, I'm going to run up at like a ramp and do a flip off of it into people. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? He goes, trust me, it's what I'm doing. Cornette talked about it when he was in Ring of Honor with Kevin Steen at the time. He wanted to do all this crazy dumb bullshit that he didn't want to do, all these crazy flips, these and insane dives, this ECW type stuff. Kevin Owens even had that footage where they showed it where he was in Raymond James Stadium before they canceled WrestleMania last year with fans, and he sees the ship and he goes, I'm jumping off that fucking boat. He's just a crazy person who wants to do crazy things because he loves it all so much, right? I think the idea of having Logan Paul involved could make it better, because I think that, for one, if anyone can figure out how to get Logan Paul involved in a way that's not actually going to spoil the whole match, it's Sami and Kevin. They're going to do it in a way that they both love it. You do this and it's going to be amazing. Also, I think that whatever Logan Paul does will make Sami versus Kevin regardless of what the fandom wants or believes or thinks ought to be historically or otherwise, Logan Paul being involved in Sammy and KO means a lot more people are going to see the Sammy KO stuff than is going to see any other match on that card. And that's going to be cool for Sammy and KO, coming from where they came from and going through the journey they've come through. And then to know that at the end of WrestleMania, they may have the most watched videos just because you have someone like that involved could be extra special, especially
second most
on a card. What do you mean? Who's going to have more? Bad Bunny?
Bad Bunny. Yeah.
Yeah,
Bunny.
he will. Yeah, he will. Yeah. Fuck Miz.
But I get your point.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I didn't think of the eyeballs thing, and that makes sense, especially since we hold Kevin and Sammy in reverence for what they do. You know, again, when they don't have storylines, it sucks because we know what they're capable of, right? But we know when we get them how much we enjoy them. So that's where I was like, fuck. Yeah, absolutely. That's where I said it on my show. I said, this is their die happy moment. Yeah. Two lifelong best friends who have been through this business together get to wrestle each other at WrestleMania. What else is left?
You crazy? No
offense to their families, their kids, and none of that. Like, we know at least what they tell us when it comes to, you know, if you want to say Steen and Generico, if you want to say Owens and Zayn, like whatever. When it comes to the two of them, there's two things they love when it comes to wrestling and almost life, and that's wrestling and each other. Like, that's it. I mean, yes, Kevin Owens talks about his family a lot, and Sammy does Sammy for Syria, and it's phenomenal and all that shit. But at the end of the day, if they could wrestle each other an hour a night for 365 days a year, and we see most of them, they would be more than happy. So the fact that they get to wrestle each other at WrestleMania, I can't imagine what this is going to look like.
I can't think of a single interview where either one of them wasn't asked what their dream WrestleMania match was, and where either of them didn't say one-on-one against the other. Producer, you
right?
Want to throw in there? I said the way you looked at me, I thought you had something you want to say. Sorry, I guess I fucked that up. I'm gonna get in trouble for that one.
Well, she's already mad at me.
I know, she's pissed at you, dude.
I'm sorry.
Which is also crazy because Aaron's the one in the chat saying he wants to be canceled, and yet here you are. I'm just kidding.
Well, say something.
Yeah, just start talking, buddy. We'll get you there.
This guy hears stuff. He doesn't say anything.
No. So, a couple things. Like I said, I don't want to go all night. We've been going on longer than I thought we would, just because that's what it is all about.
It's
just
all
a couple
good,
dudes having drinks, talking wrestling. I want to know 2 WrestleManias of yours. Your favorite WrestleMania and your most nostalgic WrestleMania to date so far. I can go first if you want.
No, let me. I want to do my most nostalgic one.
Do it.
9. And I think that's so quick. 9.
WrestleMania
9 Manias. 9 Manias. 9 Manias. 9 Manias. 9 Manias. 9 Manias of cocaine. I mean, WrestleMania.
9 Mania.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we talked about this before on your show. You know, I don't need any sob stories or whatever, but like, so my parents got divorced, and I spent a lot of time with my dad going to Blockbuster getting the videotapes. I mean, it's a lot of kids' stories, especially from our era, going to Blockbuster getting the videotapes. And we got 6 endlessly, and we got the Heaven and Hell SummerSlam endlessly, right? But when it came to the breaking point of watching one live at my grandparents' house with the illegal black box because he had the scrambler on it, it was WrestleMania 9. And I thought it was the coolest thing.
Up on that?
Hey, RIP to Grandpa. It happened in October, so and Grandma was 4 years ago. So right, I mean, hey, I was taken there. I'm an accessory, and Grandpa's gone. So sorry. So yes,
I didn't have a
limitations are completely up.
I didn't have a say at the time. I promise. Go ahead.
No, yeah. So, and what was so cool at that point in time, I was 8 or 9 years old, and it was outside. And I remember Heenan on the camel going backwards. I remember Undertaker with the bird. And even though it was crazy, Giant Gonzalez or El Gigante, whatever he was called in WWF, with the bodysuit. Even though it looked like a bodysuit, it still looked like a giant man with hair. And the Steiner brothers and Bret Hart was like rising at the time, only to be stopped by Yokozuna, and Hogan comes in, and the flash from the camera, like all that stuff still resonates with me. So that's the most nostalgic WrestleMania that I will ever have. It is, I've watched it back. It's a hard watch, but I cannot watch it without remembering being a kid. And that's what's so cool about it. No matter what 100%. WrestleMania. And honestly, how good is 10? 10 is so good, right? And I remember the build to the title versus title, which is why I was so upset that I forgot it when it came to Escobar and Devlin and Shawn Michaels came out. You know, I was like, Iron Man match. No, it's a fucking ladder match, you dummy. That was 10. As good as 10 was, 9 is just so much better for me in the nostalgia standpoint. And I guess my favorite, I said it earlier today on my show, 19. 19 is the culmination of what that childhood was by Rock and Stone Cold having their last match. I honestly, as good as the rest of the card is, I literally don't care about anything else. I can watch that match and get so emotional because I know the behind the scenes now, listening to Stone Cold's podcast and what he was feeling going into it and the style in which he likes to tell stories in the ring and what The Rock meant to him and what he meant to The Rock and how they talk about the reverence of that match together, being the only two that really knew it was his last match. I watched that with so much gratitude for what I was given as a child, as an outlet to watch things, that match at 19 makes 19 so cool for me. It's probably my favorite WrestleMania.
One more
and
round
from
for
20 to 30, I didn't watch any of them unless it was on replay. So I've only been back from 31 on.
Gotcha. And then with 9, thinking about it, even with Hogan and Bret, we're in hindsight as these smart wrestling fans that we are, the wrestling journalists we've become. It's easy to look back on that one and be like, oh, what a shit show. But at the time, if you were a kid, Hogan coming in and saving Bret Hart was fucking thrilling.
Epic.
Yeah. You're like, this is it. Oh my God. Like, yeah, it was everything.
Bret gives him the go ahead. He's like, he's covering his face and he's like, go do it. Do it. Go do it.
Do it.
Dude, Peter Rosenberg, I know you're not a huge fan of his content, but he has a phenomenal Bret Hart impression. Oh, his Bret Hart impression it's incredible.
Sam Roberts has a pretty Bret impression. He doesn't do it a lot.
You know, Davey and Owen, and it's like, however he does, it's fucking great.
It's so good. Actually, as far as that Cheap
awesome
Heat show, I'm actually a bigger fan of Stat Guy Greg. I'm a huge fan of his. But
he hasn't had stats in a few years, but yeah, he knows his shit.
Yeah, I don't know what he's statting these days. He's a little statless guy, Greg. But so for me, what I would say, just to throw it out there, my most nostalgic one, I think, would be WrestleMania 13 with Bret and Stone Cold doing the double turn. I remember that as being like the moment that I was like bought in completely. I was a huge Bret fan going into it. In the moment that, and I remained a hardcore Bret fan throughout all of the Attitude Era. So much so that my brother was like loving DX, loving Stone Cold, and I'm all like, yeah, but Stone Cold never beat Bret, you little bitch. You know, DX would come out and do stuff, and I was like, they're just a bunch of degenerates. You know, like I was bought in.
So good.
Yeah, so and then like I was like, I got to move to Canada. You know, like the whole thing. You know, I was so bought into Bret Hart. You know, and so that match was like this is, I was so bought into the reality of it. It would take years and years for me to even start to see that maybe it wasn't. And that Mania too is one of those times where I remember watching that and being like, how can you watch this and have an argument and say that it's fake? And I'm like, you guys are thinking about the WCW shit. Because I'd turn over to WCW and you'd see like Disco Inferno put his hands out and stop himself before he'd hit something and then hold his head. And you go, well, obviously he's faking it. And I was like, but these guys are faking it. These other guys are not. Like these guys are pretending to be the other guys. You know what I mean? Like it was the big one for me, I think.
Yeah, I agree, man. So I remember the build Because I mean, I was knee deep in wrestling from 10 on. I mean, I remember 11. So, by the way, Marsh, WrestleMania 11, I was living in New York. And when LT was main eventing WrestleMania, I thought it was the coolest fucking thing in the world. And by LT, I mean Lawrence Taylor. And if you're from New York, you know that LT means Lawrence Taylor. Just to let you know, it's a New York thing.
Well, I'm from San Diego, so I think LT is LaDainian Tomlinson.
But yeah, no, seriously. I don't even remember what I was getting at there.
But you were New York for LT.
But before that, there was something before that. I don't know.
WrestleMania 13. I don't know. But
the build. I'm sorry. Yeah, the build.
The
build to Stone Cold. So I was into wrestling from 9 all the way to 19. Like I was really into it, except for 18. Because once WCW went away, I was like, okay, cool. WWF won. Like, I'm good. I don't need to watch this shit no more. So I actually missed 18. But anyway, the build of Stone Cold, I remember grabbing on. I have an older brother who was massively into Bret Hart. And I'm like, well, fuck Bret Hart. Because that's what you do as a younger brother. You're like, well, fuck what you like. I like this. And then as soon as I heard JR go, he has ice water in his veins. I'm like, that's so fucking cool. I cannot wait to get ice water in my veins.
Yep.
I like that guy. And that was against Savio Vega as Stone Cold was really turning into what that character was going to eventually become pre-King of the Ring and all of that. So I was like, that's my guy. That's my guy. So when he built into the Bret Hart, and even though he never beat Bret Hart, he always looked incredible against Bret Hart. Yes. Shout out to Bret Hart for making everyone he wrestled look fucking phenomenal. Something that is a lost fucking art today.
Growing up, my favorites were Bret Hart, X-Pac, and Mankind. Like, it was not even a question. Yeah, those are my favorites. And when people talk back on some of those guys, there's always like, oh, yeah, this guy was underrated, or this guy, he was popular, people didn't see this or that. And it was like so many people that I was like, quote, like right about when I was younger. But those people are the ones who drew me in, something about them, right? And I remember that my brother was always fans of people against Bret and was saying, like, Bret's boring, this and that. And I remember just hating Stone Cold because from the moment he said that line, you put the letter S in front of Hitman and you got my exact feelings for him. I was like, fuck you, dude! Fuck you! Because I just knew the next day at school, so Kevlar was going to come to me and be like, oh, shit. Oh, yeah. Kevlar would come to middle school and be like, shit, man, fan. Or like, fuck you, dude! I knew it. But growing up, anytime anything would show up, X-Pac, Mankind, or Bret Hart, people would show up. Matter of fact, to this day, Kevlar found this little 1999 or 2000 X-Pac little finger skateboard. He found it and goes, and as soon as he saw it, he goes, oh, I got to give this to Marsh. This is a Marsh thing, this little X-Pac fingerboard. But yeah, all the time I still get phone calls or things when something happens with him. But like not that long ago, it was a couple years ago, my brother hits me up and he goes, man, I was just thinking about it. His favorites were Shawn Michaels, The Rock, Stone Cold. But he was like, the more and more I think about my favorites and their best matches, he goes like, Bret was in like all of them. And he's like, I just want to apologize for giving such shit for liking it. But
yeah, so nostalgia for you was 13. What's your favorite?
Now, my favorite, I think, is actually 35, which is really recent, I know, but I do think that the history involved there. I felt like 35 was one of the biggest love letters that WWE has ever written to their fans. Every single match from beginning to end, just on paper, name next to name, could have main evented any WrestleMania. I think that the history, what it meant to Becky Lynch. To me, Becky Lynch is a huge legend, and I'm biased towards her in a number of ways. But that Kofi Mania, I mean, even Roman's return, Samoa Joe cutting through Mysterio the way that he did, like so much of it seemed like such a payoff for everything. And the year before, building up to it, felt like a little bit rocky, and the year before that was even rockier, where you're so like, what the fuck is happening? This felt like, don't worry, we'll take care of all of your favorites. We're going to give them all those kinds of things. You know what I mean? Like, GR Lunar says, he's dropping by to say what's up. And And Aaron says 2 belts. Yeah, when Becky 2 belts happened, it was huge for me. That was also, I don't know, I guess my biggest wrestling regret is I could have gone to that show and I just didn't. It would have been a little difficult, but I could have made it work for sure. But I just didn't. And so in hindsight, I look at it and go, yeah, it's the one that got away. But we'll make it to a Mania one year, and hopefully it'll be as good. But we had Rumble that same year, which is the thing. That's what I was kind of like, well, I already did Rumble. I don't know. Because I did Rumble 2019, second row, incredible. But as far as Mania goes, the Mania that led into that, and maybe that's also part of it. I'm so connected to that Royal Rumble that the payoff of that Rumble being Mania means a lot too. So
that makes sense. That might put it into the nostalgia category too.
One day it will. It's just too new to be that.
True.
You know, so. Yeah, Aaron's saying that he loves seeing Beth beating off Brock as well to top it off.
Seth beating Brock, not Beth beating off Brock. It's a big difference.
I don't see the difference.
One would make Edge really upset. The other one doesn't bother Edge at all.
Oh, yeah, that's not a problem. Lunar says that Rumble and TakeOver was an amazing weekend. Yeah, the whole thing. I still think about it almost daily. It was a good time.
That's awesome. I have two pay-per-view regrets. WrestleMania 35 is one of them. Being in Delaware, MetLife Stadium's only 2 hours away. It's not a far drive, and I still have family back home. I had a place to stay, even if I wanted to get just tickets to Mania, or if I wanted to do the package. It's not that big a deal anyway, right? But I was like, you know what? Us as a family, we're working towards different things, so spending that kind of money didn't make sense. Yeah. The one that did make sense was Royal Rumble, first women's Royal Rumble. And I was such a mark for Ronda eventually showing up in WWE. And she did in Philly, 30 minutes away. I was just like, I gotta go to Royal Rumble. I told the wife, she's like, look, it's too late. Because like on SeatGeek or whatever, it was like $45, $80, whatever it was, for a seat all the way up in the rafters. And in basketball stadiums, hockey stadiums nowadays, there's no bad seats. They're either big or they're small. It doesn't matter, right? You're either up close or you're far away. It doesn't matter. So it was cheap enough to go for myself. But honestly, I was just like, I'll just watch it on TV. It's not that big a deal. And something felt odd at the end of the night. And the show didn't go off the air. And then Ronda's music hit, and I go, motherfucker. The missus just went to bed. When this shit happened, the Rumble happened, she goes, oh, cool, Asuka won, great. Awesome. Mrs. goes to bed, and they do what was it, Alexa and Charlotte were champions at the time? Yeah. They come in the ring, they surround Asuka, and I was like, I said, babe, get out here. What? Ronda's here. What the fuck? We blew our fucking... And then as soon as the moment settled in, I go, I could have fucking went. Yep. Why didn't I go? Yes. I was waiting for Ronda to show up. So why didn't I go? Why wasn't I there just for that moment? I don't remember the rest of the card at all, except for, what was it? Old guard, new guard. It was, who was it? It was, Nakamura and Roman standing across from Cena and, was it Randy Orton? Or Cena and Daniel Bryan? For the Final Four, yeah. Yeah, it was like this old guard, new guard face-off, and then Nakamura ends up eliminating Roman for the win, and it was so cool. But I don't remember anything else. And yeah. I remember that moment going, I could have went. Why didn't I go? Yeah. But, you got to make these choices. But I am looking forward. Honestly, I'm pinching my pennies. I'm going. I want to go really bad to WrestleMania Hollywood. That's a plan. It's a big plan.
Yep. Hollywood for me is a no-brainer. I got to. Hollywood, Dallas is a maybe-brainer. We'll see about that one. It's still close enough to where it's not ridiculous. But yeah, I actually used to live in New York proper, not like Delaware or some sort of outskirt like that. But I lived in actual New York City for just five and some change years, just shy of 6. I think it was like a couple months shy of 6. But when the New York Mania was coming about, I had a ton of people who were all like, if you come out, you can stay with me. I had people who were going.
Yeah.
I knew a bunch of people who were like, oh, just come with us and all this stuff. And everything was plotted out, but it was just so much all like, I just feel like maybe not. And then like in hindsight, it's like, that was the stupidest, maybe not. It was,
Yeah.
could have definitely done it. But it is what it is. We made our bed and now we pee in it. You know how it goes.
No, I'm an adult. I don't pee the bed anymore. I pee my pants trying to fall into the shower like a big boy.
Oh. Well, the only other thing really that I thought we could maybe talk about, because nobody's even asking about what's going on in the world of wrestling today. This Mania coming up. We're in the midst of it. The go home show for Raw was a little bit of a wet fart, bit of an oily discharge. What? That's what they say on all the commercials for Panda Express.
I haven't heard that once.
No? I feel like
no.
Okay. Well,
so let me ask you this.
Discharge.
Listen.
Go ahead.
Dude, I fucking texted you when
Aaron says that's not a
when Natty and Tamina show up.
Yes.
As if I texted you, it's happening, and you never responded.
Because I was working, I didn't know what you were talking about.
And then when you watch the show, you got to be like, oh, this is what he's talking about, because it's the only fucking cool thing that happened.
That was SmackDown. There was a bunch of cool shit that happened. So I was trying to figure out what
the
moment
only cool thing that happened.
Yeah. But yeah, I was like, this is fucking dope. The gauntlet match for the women's tag, I'm super excited for. I really want Natty and Tamina to win it.
They called it a turmoil. Is it gauntlet style?
It's elimination style, I should say.
So is it going to be 4 corners elimination?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if they need tags or not. I don't remember for the
turmoil. I'm wondering because I didn't have the sound on when they were announcing. I'm like, okay, tag team turmoil can mean whatever they want. Does that mean it's a 4-on-4, tag your own person out? Is it 2-on-2, tag in whoever you feel like? You know, that's an easy just step off the ropes. Like, don't tag me in because I'll just wait until it's my turn.
Yep, but only
is it elimination style?
Like
is it gauntlet style? Yeah,
it's definitely elimination style. I know that, but I'm really excited about that. I really want Natty and Tamina to win those tag titles here at Mania. I've seen some people talking some shit on it. Even I saw someone saw like, oh, the fact that Shayna lost to Natty is everything that's wrong with the women's division. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I know we've gone off on a number of Natty tirades. I believe starting on episode 1 and on forward, but Natty is literally the woman with the most accolades in the business. Regardless of like whether or not you think Britt Baker's really cool because she bled one time, or you think Thunder Rosa's awesome because she held a championship on a YouTube channel before, Natty's literally had more singles matches than any other woman active in the history of wrestling. Outside of like active, I should say, yes. So she's also had the most one-on-one pay-per-views. She has the most wins. All those stats that Lana was rattling off to create this boat image weren't fake or made up at the time. Those are in the records of her wins and losses. She is super formidable. The idea of her winning on the way to something like this is huge. And you know what? Shayna's going to get there in a year or two. I really feel that. And I know that your whole thing is the ticking clock.
Yeah.
How much time do we have with Shayna? And you never know. But I do know that patience pays off in the WWE. And I do know that she's out there working her ass off with whoever she's got. She looks strong in these.
And she's doing great, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's doing
great. She even looked
great.
strong in that. She didn't look weak in that loss.
Yeah, I was
She
really
looked like she
excited.
got dizzy.
I was excited to see both of them just because I thought, oh, wow, they're both technicians. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah. For me, the biggest disappointment is it was a short match in general.
I mean, it was kind of funny, but I still could appreciate it because Natty doesn't get those.
No. And you know what that was? You know what that showed? That was a veteran win. Those were the wins that the vets get because they can see you slipping when you're an overly confident, young, badass fighter, but you're not an old-time wrestler. She's an old-time wrestler. She can see your slip-ups and take advantage of it. And you know what? The Shayna character can learn and grow from that. So I got no issues with that.
I mean, part of me
let me ask you this. Go ahead, producer. I'm sorry.
Sorry, part of me was bummed because I did want to see them, beat each other up. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, I'm fine with it. It's fine.
Yeah. Real quick, GR Lunar, because he says he's got to go. He wants a short, silent point to the Wrestlemania sign as we get ready for Wrestlemania. Can you point to the sign, Bishop? Point to your right.
I have to make sure here that it's in the right spot. No, is it this way?
Right. There you go. Point to the right.
I'm on delay, so I don't know if I'm pointing in the right direction.
All right, perfect. Stay right there.
Right there. Right there, Mania, right there. Hell yeah, we did it. That's collaboration right there.
Very good. Very good. All right. And we're done.
Yeah, go ahead. Say what you want to say about this match. I'm excited for this one. I'm actually super excited for this one.
Yeah, I'm curious. Honestly, at the end of the day, is this where we get the opportunity to have the women's tag team championships become something? Because it already seems like something of importance on NXT and something that they flubbed along the way. But if we get an opportunity to get Shayna and Nia to lose, for somebody to take it and run with it, a la Sasha and Bayley, and now have Shayna and Nia in a feud with themselves away from a title, you now have the opportunity for 3 separate women's storylines on a show like Raw that can really use something besides 1 hour total of Drew McIntyre.
Yep, 100%. I'm 100% behind all that.
So you think my wrestling takes are terrible?
Well, because this is the one you agree about.
Oh, gotcha. And Bailey's dope too. So
anyone that starts just ragging on Natty and adding us on Twitter, I just no thank you. I don't need that on our timeline.
Yeah, we mute those real quick. Anybody talk shit about Natty, I just do a quick mute. I'm like, oh, you don't understand or get it. If you think Natty is shitty, you don't get it. You are just the most surface level wrestling fan.
If you're not a fan,
I mean, I'm not a fan.
Cool.
I've never been shy about that. I think there's a lot that she does that's a disconnect. But I think one thing that I have noticed with her is that, okay, fuck it, whatever. You want to not invite me on anymore? It doesn't matter. NXT's moving to Tuesdays.
It's different not being a fan. When it comes to
Natty.
Not being a fan is not the same as not understanding or respecting.
Okay. So when it comes to Natty, I see somebody in the ring who is a general, but when you're leading people in any job, any profession whatsoever, you can't make them work the way you do. You have to work to them and build them up to what you do. And I see a lot of holes in that. We don't get that out of Bayley. Bayley finds a way to work down to someone's level and lift them up gradually, where Natty does get good matches out of people who maybe don't deserve to have as good of matches, but you see her calling out the spots. You see the next moment that's going to happen. And I'm not saying that she can't have great matches. She has phenomenal matches with people who have great matches. When it comes to a great match out of nowhere with someone who shouldn't have that match, I personally don't see that with Natty. So I have a hard time buying into how great she is when you can see how it takes her making sure somebody else does something the right way instead of being more fluid in what that execution is. That's my opinion when it comes to Natty.
Because Natty...
And if you want to end the Zoom call, that's okay.
Yeah, right, just bloop, bloop. With Natty, I think Natty is never out of the mentality of training. And I think that's her biggest holdback, is that when she's in the ring, she knows she has to take care of that other person, because it doesn't matter who she's in the ring with. She knows more than them. She's more experienced than them. And she loves teaching people. Right? But she loves teaching people and getting them to that next step, right? So she ends up she's more willing to take the sacrifice of looking bad to make the other person learn something than she is to make sure that she gets over in that match. If that person can come out learning something, she comes out thinking, job well done. So I do think that does hurt her in the presentation. I also think that her bigger concern, more so than a lot of other people, is she doesn't always trust everyone else in the ring to just do it right and keep it safe. She has to make sure everyone is safe. She's Mama Bear in there. When she's in the ring, she's making sure that no one's getting injured in there. And other people in the ring are just trusting the other person to do what they're supposed to do. Natty's not like that. You know what I mean? So I do think that is what people see as sloppiness, and I don't think it is. I think it's her overcompensating for the other person's weakness, and it slows her down some. I think once you get her in the ring with someone like a Becky at that SummerSlam was fantastic. Put her in the ring with a Charlotte, and it's going to be just fine, because here are people she really can trust to take care of those moments. She's just always given Lacey on her second night. You know what I mean? So that dichotomy is why when I go in my AEW tirades about holding them accountable, that I can't gloss over those moments in Natty to fully appreciate the other ones. If you're going to come correct on a night for Becky, then you have to hold your opponent in the same regard to have them come correct to you on when it's their time to be on that stage. And I'm not saying that she doesn't, but even, we were at a live show and she was wrestling Alicia Fox, someone who was already champion at one point in time. And we were sitting front row and we're hearing Natty call out all the spots. And I'm like, I thought she's supposed to be good. I thought she's supposed to be, generations and know all this stuff. Like, why do we hear everything she's saying? It could be the acoustics, it could be 100 different things. We had just got back into wrestling. But the point is, I see these things and it's like, how do you blend the awesome Natty and the transparent Natty together? I don't know if it's too late for her, though, because she has been around for so long, that this is just what we get. Is the other question then, instead of giving her the chum, give her the sharks in the ocean and let her fucking go for it. Which I think might be part of the reason of the tag championships. But even then, if the tag championships are kind of like the top of the mid card, realistically, then you're going to see her training the Riot Squad. I saw someone else say, like, oh, they really hope this is where the Iconics come back, derail this whole gauntlet match thing, and then we end up with the Riot Squad winning, and then you get Riot Squad versus Iconics in an Usos versus New Day style back and forth. And I was like, have you seen any of these people wrestle? Like, are you kidding me? Like, you're talking bumper cars versus NASCAR. Like, what are you talking about? So,
where you were starting on that, I know one of the guys on my show earlier today said that about the Iconics coming back together for this and getting into that kind of concept, but not to that far. So you must have heard the rest of that shit somewhere else. I don't know. Look, I think the fact that they folded this in, and honestly, I did 2 WrestleMania preview shows, and the card continues to change as I do these shows. When I booked them, I thought, when we're 6 days out, 5 days out, 4 days out, that this shit would be done. It's not done yet. Probably some shit's going to happen on Friday night that's going to turn into fucking Saturday or Sunday. I mean, we have 14 matches booked. We only had 12 as of Saturday. Monday, we end up with 14. It's like, and then one of the matches changed as well. We got the tag team between Bad Bunny and Damian Priest versus Miz and Morrison. So it's not going to be a one-on-one, which I think is a great idea. But at the end of the day, like, this card continues to evolve, and it's a good and a bad thing. But overall, to not know exactly what's going to happen or how it's going to look, I think we're in for something really fun for WrestleMania.
I agree. In the chat right now, Aaron says no one's louder than Cena calling the shots. That's true. I have heard that you've got to be a good 10 rows back to not hear Cena. But I think it has to do with, like you said, acoustics and mics and stuff like that. But Ghost Wolf does ask, hey guys, what are you looking forward to more, NXT or Mania? I think I know your answer. I'm going to let you go and go first.
Honestly, like, no bullshit across the board. Because I'm so involved in all of this, the entire stretch of 14 days or whatever it is, from the NXT go home until the NXT on Tuesday, I am excited for this whole week. I know I've been kind of complaining about it, but this whole 2-week stretch of how it's laying out, it's such a really cool time frame. Like, this 2-week time frame, it's so cool to kind of see how it goes. We got a little bit of a blah Raw. We got a decent SmackDown. We're getting a third night of WrestleMania on SmackDown with the Andre Battle Royal and the SmackDown Tag Champs. And we're going to see a new presentation of NXT on a Tuesday. I'm legit. I'm not favoring anything. I'm going along for the ride, especially starting Wednesday and Thursday, Saturday and Sunday. And as it comes to me, I'm just going to take it in.
So you're not more excited?
I think we're going to get better wrestling on Wednesday. No, because I'm getting it regardless. So I'm not gonna explode all my energy on Wednesday and Thursday and not save any for Saturday and Sunday. But I do think, well, you say worse shit, so you can oily discharge all you need to. At least I'm exploding energy and not a white discharge.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah. On Wednesday and Thursday, yeah. To answer his question for what he was looking for, the wrestling on Wednesday and Thursday is going to outshine anything on Saturday and Sunday. The stories on Saturday and Sunday are going to culminate, I think, better than on Wednesday and Thursday.
Right. So, with that in mind, I agree, and that's why I'm more excited about Mania than NXT, because I do think that I do think that the main roster, SmackDown and specifically, puts more effort and emphasis on stories. And I've been saying it for a while. I can watch incredible wrestling anytime I want and go to the network and look up all my favorite matches all the time. If you believe Meltzer, then you have a 5-star match every week you can watch, brand new every time. So if every match is pretty close to perfect every time you see it, what's going to set them apart? And to me, it's the story. So for me, I'm much more excited about the Mania fallout than I am excited about NXT, because I know NXT is just going to be a bunch of great matches. It doesn't make me as excited about the fallout of it. Because I know WrestleMania is going to be littered with storyline above all else, I get excited about where we go from here type of a deal. Where NXT is all like, it's another step in their story. It's another step in the road. We build up to the match. We have an incredible match, and then we move forward. It's a little formulaic in that regard, and I know I'm kind of underplaying it a little bit, but sometimes I stopped watching NXT for almost the entirety of Adam Cole's title run. Once he won it, I'd only watch a couple of takeovers, like 2 takeovers a year for like that whole time, just because I knew everything we were going to be getting was going to be 1,000 miles a minute, and by the time I was done, I hated all the Adam Cole matches because I was just so bored of it by the time it happened. Because everything else before it was the same shit, and this stuff's just forever. So because of that, I'm not saying I think that the audience exhaustion's a real thing, and for me, it sets in during NXT. By the end of night 2 of NXT, I think that the main event of that has a lot to live up to, and we'll just see if they do. It's not to say they can't.
I don't think they will. I think, especially if they're going to put O'Reilly and Cole on before Cross and Balor, I think the emotional let out of what they've built for NXT, there's no chance that a story as simple as what they've told with Finn and Cross can hold up to anything else that's been put out there on NXT. I'm so intrigued for Ciampa versus Walter. I could care less about Cross and Balor. And that's just the way it looks. That's the way it feels. That's the presentation of it, you know?
Yeah. Do you think there's any big surprises or returns at Mania?
I don't care. I mean, not to shit on it, but like that's a fantasy book aspect where I don't. If I look into it and it doesn't happen, I'm like, oh man, like they could have done this. Where if something cool does happen, like the Sting Triple H match, when you look back on it, it was corny as fuck that NWO and DX came out. But in the moment of that match, when both musics hit, and then it all culminates. Oh, and by the way, Shawn Michaels comes out with a super kick. It was perfect storytelling, right? Even though Sting wasn't an NWO guy, but you know he joined it. But the way they told that story in the moment, if you fantasy booked, oh well, yeah, DX is going to come out, and then NWO is going to come out. And it happens, you're so underwhelmed because it actually happened. If you don't look into it and it does happen, you're like, oh shit, look at this. That's pretty cool. So I'd rather do that.
I'm not saying where. I'm not trying to figure out where or when. I'm just thinking, is now a good time to just bring someone back? I kind of feel like someone's going to pop up who we don't expect. Someone unannounced will pop up. I don't know when, where, who, anything like that. But I do feel like the first night with crowd might be a good time to have somebody pop in. You know what I mean? I don't know. Again, what aspect, where. I'm not saying like, oh, this tag team comes back, this person comes back, this dude we haven't seen, this person should be cleared from injury. I don't know any of that stuff. I'm not even trying to say any of that stuff. I'm just thinking from like a generalized booking standpoint. Yeah, Mania does have returns from time to time or surprises. I know last year it was pretty well said before it even started, hey, we should not expect surprises. It's very difficult times to travel. I think things have opened up. I think you got fans. I think it might be nice to have somebody pop up. Again, who, when, where, I don't want to get into that because, like you said, if I go like, oh, I
Gotcha.
want this person to come back.
Yeah.
Then they don't come back.
Yeah, no, so in that context, yeah, like for the sake of, sure, I think it would be great. I mean, if there's even if the turmoil match just needs one more tag team, and it turns out to be whatever Legends tag comes back, that people would go crazy, but okay, so for instance, 35, John Cena came back to do Thugonomics with Elias. It was great. I knew nothing about John Cena and Thugonomics because all I did was rewatch some Wrestlemanias. I didn't put the time in on Raw and SmackDown on the network. That's way too much shit to go through. So I rewatched some Wrestlemanias. I saw who Thugonomics was, and I'm like, okay, cool. But when he came out against Elias to do the promo, I had no idea that's what that video package was all about.
Yeah,
building the GOAT, and when you build the GOAT and then the GOAT comes out in Thugonomics form and I'm like, oh, look at this shit. Made total sense. It was fun too. It's corny. Wrestling's corny. Hello. And it was fun. So I would love to see some shit like that. Not the same example, but in a context of here's a legend or a surprise we didn't expect and there's an interaction that's awesome. Absolutely. It'd be great.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I want. Just a little bit, a sprinkle on there. That's all. Nothing.
Yeah.
I don't need a Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy return necessarily. I don't need it to be that kind of a deal. I don't need it to be Cena versus Undertaker. Just whatever. I think it'd be cool because you have fans there. It'd be nice to do a little bit extra something special for the people who did come out. And for us watching at home after a long, long time of us watching without fans, it'd be nice to see something like that. But that's all I was saying. I don't think I had much else over there. What are you looking forward to? I'll be honest. I know people shit on it. The triple threat, the Universal match, I think I'm more excited for than most of the stuff on night one, to be honest. I just cannot get enough of Roman, Edge, and Daniel Bryan right now the way they're doing.
Well, they definitely seem to stack night two. Night one, I'm not going to say is a bore, but it's definitely a slow build, if you will, into what the main event of night two is going to be. I don't think we're really going to get anything incredibly special on night one. Maybe that's the night that we get the returns that you're talking about, the special surprises or what have yous. I don't know exactly where they would interject, but
I like that.
As far as WrestleMania in the overall, I'll just throw it out there myself. Excuse me. What I'm most looking forward to, I think at the end of the day, the thing that really is intriguing me most is the Roman, Edge, and Daniel Bryan, because I think this is some type of culmination. There's going to be a finality. I forget which hand it is for me, so I'm not. There we go.
I was pointing above it and beyond it. I gotta go like this.
How's that?
I'm doing it. I'm figuring it out.
How's my finger?
There we go.
How's my finger? Is it working?
There we go. That's good. I like it there.
All right. That's what she said. I don't like how we got here. I don't like what the actual match is. I've said this for a while. Give me the one-on-ones and then build to a triple threat. To do it backwards, you're losing interest, at least with me. The story that I've been enthralled with so much is The Fiend, and what's really like giving me mixed feelings on the inside is I don't know what this is, and not necessarily in a good way. I don't know how we leave WrestleMania and continue or end this story. I don't know how we see The Fiend again and it makes sense. I don't know how we see Randy Orton again and it makes sense. I don't know how to leave WrestleMania with what's happened between The Fiend and Randy Orton making sense. And that sucks for me because I've been on this bandwagon for 6 months, 8 months.
Yeah, I hear that. I'm similar with that one too, where with The Fiend stuff, I'm like, this is incredible. I never want it to end. But it's definitely at a point where it's all like, I don't know how it keeps going after this. Because they've turned The Fiend into Freddy. Well, even less than Freddy. Who's like the brain dead one who just did shit? Was it Jason?
Michael Myers?
Was that Michael Myers? Yeah, like Michael Myers.
I don't know.
Where now it's just like this kind of he's just there. He's just this entity without speaking. So the idea of how Firefly Funhouse Bray transitioning between the different types of Brays to tell the stories of how and why the Fiend is coming for revenge made it dynamic and incredible. Now that the Fiend is just a burnt entity that's not speaking or talking, and you need Alexa to do that, it does feel a little more impersonal when Alexa's like, fuck you, dude. So if you did build into, let's go the Undertaker route, which we feel it's not going to happen, right? I'm not saying this as a thing, but let's say you want to take that Undertaker route of storytelling, and you talk about how the Undertaker beat Bray at WrestleMania. Was it 31 or 32?
31.
But 31. So you can go that Bray wants his revenge for that. How is Alexa going to tell that story and have it be personal when she wasn't in the company at the time? You know what I mean?
Right.
Where with Bray, the way that he told stories, Bray's acting is next level. The subtlety in his eyes, in his facial expressions, his smiles, the seriousness, the way he snapped back and forth, all that being gone, I wonder how much you can rely on Alexa to tell the story for Bray moving forward after that. But that might be a conversation for another day. We'll see what happens here. Maybe at the end of the whole match, Bray comes back in the Firefly Funhouse and everybody's happy again. And who knows? Who knows? I don't know. But I am excited for the week. I'm excited to have drinks with my friends. I'm excited for you guys coming through. And I apologize for the change in format today. I thought, why break down show for show when a couple of guys can just have a few drinks and just talk wrestling on whole? That's what we would do. I thought we would be shorter. It wasn't quite as short as I was hoping. I thought we might be out 45 minutes to an hour. I was like, we might just end up fucking be done in a minute. So a little longer than I thought, because I do want to thank everybody for coming through, having a drink, because there's 130 hours of wrestling this week. And if you spent even 10 minutes with us having a drink, we appreciate that. And we feel nothing but gratitude for you on this side of the IWC. Bishop, you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yes, check me out, twtakes.podcast.com for all audio platforms that I am on to check out my podcast, Terrible Wrestling Takes. twtakes.podcast.com/TWTs to get one of these awesome t-shirts. You can also buy 2, 3, or 5. You can buy 100 if you want. You just got to do it in multiple purchases. I'm having a blast, man. Marsh, thank you so much for having me on. I am at TW Takes Podcast on all social media platforms, twtakes.podcast.com. Check me out. Listen to my show. I'll be doing watch-alongs for Night 1 NXT, Night 2 WrestleMania. Check out twtakes.podcast.com for the video links as well. I broadcast on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, just like Marsh does for this show. Come in, have the same way you do here. Join the chat, join the show, derail the show, have a fucking blast, drink along with me. I have a very, very special surprise guest for tomorrow night. And Marsh, do you want to tell them that you are not that special guest?
I'm definitely not. I've never been referred to that way in my life.
Well, a couple times on my show, a special surprise guest, I would refer you as. But yes, so watch along tomorrow night. Myself and another podcast will be doing NXT watch along for Night 1. Night 2, I am taking the night off. Night 1 of WrestleMania, I'm conflicted. I've been putting out so much content. Night 2 of WrestleMania, I will be joined by a special surprise guest. Other than that, twtakes.podcast.com for everything at twtakes.podcast, mostly on Twitter. Thank you for having me, Marsha. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thank you for coming through and having a drink with me. Thank you to everybody in the chat, everybody watching on whatever platform you're watching. Thank you for coming through and having a drink. We just wanted to get ready pre-game this week as we get going, because it's nonstop from here until we get to the other side. We find out who that Pomeranian belongs to on NXT. We're going to find out who the true tribal chief is. We're going to find out a lot this week. We are along for the ride. You can find us at WOTR The Show on Twitter, at WrestlingOnTheRocks.com for all of our links, all of our shops. We do have a new shirt for the Ironics. Oh, God. I haven't eaten. I've been drinking.
Which episode number is this?
This is only episode 1. We don't have to get it right yet. Yeah, there's no point. We got a new Ironics t-shirt, me and Kevlar, the fabled Ironics tag team. All that stuff you can find at WrestlingOnTheRocks.com. I am at Ref Marsh. This is Last Call. Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey, producer lady here. Thanks for tuning in. Continue to support us or buy us a drink by following and putting the I in subscribe on Twitch. Or subscribe and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. Cheers!
I would never have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.